Listen. I was just a JS1 student. The first time I had an encounter with supernatural power. I was a JS1 student. JS1. I was not born again. But I loved hanging around Christians. I just loved the things of God. I just loved hanging around wherever those things were happening. JS1. I had entered Federal Government College or Kibwe. And then there was this new friend I made on the first day. Another JS1 student. And we were all going around together. We were three that used to work together. And suddenly, one day I came back from school. The guy's name was Edu. I think Pastor Lawrence used Chin. I don't know. It's like Chinedu is a common. So I came back. The other of our friends looked at me and said, Ikenna. He said, I don't know what's happening to Edu. That I came back yesterday and I saw him sitting on his bunk. Meanwhile, me, I used to have the lower bunk. He had the top bunk. So this friend told me, I came back and I saw Edu sitting on his bunk. And he covered the net and drew a circle and crossed his leg. He was making incantations and bowing down to the circle. What class did I say we were? What class again?
JSS1.
JS1. JS1. That he was making incantations and bowing to the circle. I looked at him, I said, and you left him. Why didn't you confront him? He said, I was waiting for you. I said, congratulations. I said, today when he comes back, I'm going to confront him and find out exactly what he was doing. Bowing down to circle and making incantations. So he came back. It was time for prep. Edu lay down on his top bunk. Me, you know, the man that confronts, you get the point now. I now climbed my own bunk and jumped on his own bunk and sat down. You know those double bunks? You know, how many of you know those double bunks? Yes. It was quite high, so I was sitting, my legs were hanging. He was lying down behind me. So I greeted him. I was like, Edu, how far now? He said, Ike, nothing much. How you did? We gisted. I said, hey, Edu, this guy told me that you covered net through circle and you were bowing down to it and making incantations. Guy, what did that one come in now? He said, Ike, forget that thing. It's nothing. I was just playing. I said, it cannot be nothing. He said, it's nothing. Forget it. I said, guy, it cannot be nothing. He said, I was just playing. I said, tell me what he means. For about 30 minutes, I was pressuring the guy. The guy said, it's nothing. So I looked at him and I said, Edu, as you see me sitting here, I am not moving from this place. If you don't tell me what you were doing, sitting down with circle drum, making incantations and bowing down under a closed net, I'm not living here if you don't tell me. And my friend, they do looked at me and smiled. You know this kind of smile that I'm pitying you. You know that kind of smile. Smiled. And then he turned and backed me, faced the wall, and used his left hand and rubbed his left eye and said, Ikenna, get down and get out fast. I was sitting on his bunk with no plans to move. Suddenly, an invisible pair of hands picked me up. Oh my. An invisible pair of hands picked me up, lifted me. Not like, I didn't fall like this. I went up, as in something lifted me up, shifted me from the bed, and slammed me on the floor.
Power.
And I was looking and saw my legs running. Do you understand? As in, I don't know whether you understand what I'm talking about. I was looking and saw my legs running, carrying me with them. So my legs kept running until I ran out of the room, ran out of the hostel. And then I reached one place and the legs stopped. So I stopped. I was asking myself, how did I get here? I was on a bed without any plan to go. So I turned and beheld the height from which I had fallen. As I looked there, I saw a dude. He just looked at me and smiled. As he smiled, sister, by myself, I continued from where the leg stopped. I just continued. Ran out of the host. I didn't come back that day. If you see, you'll come back, Abby. That was how I encountered supernatural. If you think there's nothing like power, that was the first time I encountered it. And that was the beginning of my wisdom. Because the fear of Edu became for me the beginning of wisdom. And then I told myself, it's better to align with this guy and be his friend than to be on the other side. So I became his best friend. Anywhere he goes, if he says stop, there's no wind in heaven or earth that can make me move from that place. We were coming back from borehole one day. One bird, one crow was making noise. He just stopped and said, Ikenna, that bird is an evil bird. There's a message he wants to pass to me. Let me communicate with it. Stand here. He didn't need to say it 2 times. I wasn't planning to move before, sir. I stayed there without moving a step for like 30 minutes. He was communicating with the bird. Came back. And a whole lot of things. But listen to the part I want to tell you. We were in secondary school, junior secondary. One day, another secondary school boy. Another secondary school boy in our hostel who had been hearing. No, before that day, I even forgot the main one. Hi.
You were sleeping.
One day, exactly. One day I came back. I was having siesta. It was time for siesta. So I was lying down on the bed. Everybody was lying on their beds. I was trying to rest though. I came from school. I was almost asleep. Suddenly, I opened eye, got up from the bed, jumped down, and started walking out of the hostel, just walking out. And so I walked to the quadrangle, got there and stopped and stood there. I started looking around. And I was asking myself, what am I doing here? What am I doing here? I'm supposed to be sleeping. And suddenly I saw a Jew at one corner with a group of boys who he had been discipling. And next thing I heard them saying, hey, how did you do it? How did you do it? How did you do it? And I was thinking, how did you do it? How did you do it? How did you do it? And it dawned on me. He had been preaching to them about the powers available if they join him. Are you understanding? And then he told them, he said, for instance,
practical.
He said, for instance, that wherever IK is now, I can make him come out here where we are. And they said it's not true. And he did something. And Dr. Val got up from his bed of sleep and slumber and started walking out to the quadrangle without any plan of the future. And came and stood. I was being used for demonstration. Practical. That's the kind of thing some of you see. Some of the demons that press you in the night is not the big demons, so it's their babies that they are trying to train. Do you understand?
Yes.
They are just trying to train them. So they say, okay, just for practical, just let's see how much you've learned. He said, okay, he will now fly. And when he's going to perch, he's on Sister Dorcas. And then Sister Dorcas will be shouting, G, 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 G. And then Jesus, She'll now get up and say, I was doing spiritual warfare all night. Which war? Which war? I became a practical tool. They were using me for demonstrating the gospel.
IT students. Jesus.
But one other secondary school boy woke up one day because the news of what this boy was doing was everywhere. He was using prophetic self on students. Another secondary school boy called him one day, said, come. Carried him to class, opened the door of one of the classes. Two of them entered. He locked the door and dropped the key outside. He said, today, either you come out or I come out. 30 minutes, he just came to the boy, came to Edu, laid hands on him, pa! As he laid hands on Edu, Edu passed out. Passed out for 30 minutes. By the time Edu opened his eyes, he was asking the boy, where am I? Meanwhile, this was the guy that held the school hostage with his power. Another secondary school boy who knew what he was carrying. Because some of the other people that he was discipling were Christians. So.
Discipleship.
After 1 hour, Edu came out a new creation. Born again. Another secondary school boy.